In the heart of our great nation, where the strength of our communities is built upon the foundation of strong and loving families, an urgent crisis is unfolding. Child Protective Services, CPS, an institution designed to safeguard our most vulnerable, has in many cases betrayed its noble mission. Too often, families are torn apart not by neglect or abuse, but by systemic failures and corruption. We can no longer stand idly by as these injustices continue. We are here to give a voice to those who have been isolated, to shine a light on the corruption, and to rally our fellow citizens in this critical fight for justice. Every day, countless families are caught in a web of bureaucracy and abuse of power, their lives disrupted and their bonds shattered. Children, who should be nurtured and protected, are instead placed in situations that can be just as, if not more, harmful than the circumstances from which they were taken. Parents, often bewildered and powerless, face insurmountable odds as they fight to reunite with their children. This is not the America we believe in. We cannot allow these injustices to persist. Our mission is to educate, to inform, and to inspire action. We promise to bring you daily updates on CPS, exposing the truth and fighting for reform. We must remember that the future of our nation depends on the strength and unity of our families. By standing together, we can hold CPS accountable and ensure that it fulfills its true purpose, protecting children and preserving families. This is a fight we must not and will not lose. We are committed to saving our families and securing a brighter future for all. The road ahead is challenging, but with your support, we can make a difference. Together, we will bring hope to those who have lost it and ensure that justice prevails. Let us unite with unwavering resolve and a sense of patriotic duty to safeguard the integrity of our families and the future of our nation.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPUFist.com is leading the way. Join us.
Hey guys, I've been gone for a couple weeks between work, some family stuff, and being sick, but I'm back. I'm a newer person on here. So my name is Amy, and last time, or the time before that, I can't remember, I told my story, but today we're going to talk about and perspective. Debbie, thanks for saying, hope you have a good day. I took part of the day off because I just didn't want to be in public today. Got some ice cream. Now I have some cheese balls. So yep, I had a good day. Hope you guys did as well. A little bit about the perspectives and perceptions. Everybody, even if everyone is standing in the same room and same situation, everybody has their own perspective of the situation, perception of the situation. So we're going to talk about that in regard to CPS. And first we're going to talk about the child's perception. Imagine you are a child, typically between a newborn to 5 or 6 year old. A lot of times they seemingly don't remove older children. We're going to talk about the youngest children first. Imagine you are a newborn, an infant, a 1, maybe even 2 year old, and strangers pick you up from somewhere, and you're snatched away from your mom, your dad, your grandma, possibly even your blankie, anything a baby likes, with strangers. Strangers that oftentimes may not even know whether you're breastfed or formula fed, what type of formula. They may not know any medical issues you have. They may not know any allergies you have. And you're just dropped off with strangers. And you can't speak because you're an infant. So you just cry and cry for the normal and the things you do. Now imagine you are a toddler, say old to about 3 or 4, and you're somewhere with your parents or your family, or you're at home, and a stranger comes and again takes you. You may or may not have younger baby siblings with you. You may not have you may have older siblings with you. You may be alone. You and your siblings may or may not go to the same place. They didn't ask about your stuffing or sleep or what you do eat or any allergies or medical issues you have. They didn't ask whether you like to be read to or watch a certain show before bed. They didn't ask anything. And again, they drop you off with strangers. Strangers who probably don't understand what you're saying because you do talk some, but a lot of it is just in a way your family understands. You ask for your mama, dad, your grandma, your dog, your sister, your brother, and you get told no, or you get told I don't know, or you get told we're your family now, and you're confused, and you cry and scream, and people say you're bad, and your behavior shows that you're confused and scared and upset. And oftentimes they try to use that to claim, well, see, clearly something was going on here. Look how this child is acting. Because you don't have the understanding and communication skills to ask questions or further understand what's going on. Now let's imagine you're about 4 to 6 or 7 years old. And someone picks you up from daycare or school or your parents' house or wherever. Again, a stranger. Again, you may or may not have siblings with you. And you may or may not go together to the same strange place. They don't know whether you can. They probably mostly understand what you're saying, but not sure fully. They, again, don't know your allergies or medical problems. They won't answer your questions when you ask where your mama or your dad or your dog or your neighbor or your blanket or your teddy or anything is. You ask what they won't tell you. They ask when you can go home, or they'll say things are bad. And since you're 4 to 6 years old, bad to you means, oh, I hit the dog, I broke a toy, I spilt milk, things that small children get in trouble for. And because you know your mama and your daddy and your family members are not bad. and still nobody tells you anything. Now imagine that you are from about kindergarten to 3rd grade. So you go to school. You may have been picked up by this stranger from school or from your home. You probably have younger siblings. They're probably taken somewhere different than you. And you're asking questions, lots of questions, because you are old enough to. And people tell you things like your parents were bad, parents made a mistake, going on. They're asking you questions because you're old enough to talk. You're not why strangers are asking you questions, or why you're left with other strangers who, again, don't know your medical history, don't know your allergies, don't know what food you like, anything like that. And you're very confused because you're taught to be careful and to not go places with strangers. Now, a stranger has taken you from your parents. This is a safe place. And you're confused. You may lash out, toddler, or you may have a lot of questions. Either way, you are likely going to be very confused, disrespectful, or disruptive, and people don't like that. Am I frozen? Okay, and now imagine that you are between about 2nd or 3rd grade to about 5th grade. You're an older elementary schooler. 9 times out of 10, you probably do have younger siblings, because we all know CPS, who can't witness what did or didn't happen, who can't argue back, and who can easily be tricked and connived and coerced into thinking things did or didn't happen, and that people are or are not. So you're an older kid, you're asking a lot of questions. You're being asked a lot of questions. You probably just want to go home or to a friend's house. And you're telling things of that nature. And nobody believes you. If anything, they're trying to get you to say other things. And on several other factors, you may or may not just say these things they want you to get them to go away, because you're upset, you're confused. You're probably split up from your siblings because you're older. And you just want to go home. Now, let's imagine you are a middle schooler. You are really not knowing what's going on. You did not want to get in the car with the stranger, nor did the younger children, for that matter. You may have even fought trying to get in the car, which may have landed you in juvenile detention or a wilderness program. You're likely ripped away from your school, your friends, your sports teams, everything you know. And again, still not answered any of the questions of what's going on. And had people saying things to you and maybe even making threats to you. Who knows, depending on the situation. And now let's, a very small population, but let's take the perspective of a high schooler who gets removed. 9 times out of 10, again, you have much younger siblings and or a child of your own. You are removed. You are often switched schools, so you don't have friends. So you can't ask for placement to be put there. There's not really placements for teenagers. You're immediately classified potentially as a criminal or as having severe mental health concerns. You're probably most likely thrown in a group home or a residential facility of some sort. You are most likely put on multiple medications, whether you need them or not. And they don't have anywhere for you. And, oh, we're so sorry, but this is the best option. While you lose lifelong connections and friends and schooling and opportunities and things of that nature. And you ask to go back. And 9 times, or maybe not 9 times out of 10, but often children this age will run away. And sometimes these children, you run away and they will post that you're missing, that there's some immediate risk to you, whether there is or not. And you're found. You're returned. You're probably swapped to a different foster home, so you are unfamiliar with the area again and harder to run. Or alternatively, you run and you are never looked for, and something may or may not negatively happen to you. And in all of these situations, there's a chance that something horrific happens to you while you're with these strangers, and you tell, and they don't help you, the people who are supposed to. Or you don't get the chance to tell, and nobody ever knows what happened to you because CPS is not watching. They are not being responsible for the children that they snatch, and something very bad has happened to you way down the road, which has happened in many, many cases. And your parents and your family and your friends are probably looking for you and haven't found you because you're not with us anymore. Those are some of the perspectives of foster children. And in many of these cases, these perspectives were of children who were removed erroneously, falsely, illegally. We're going to talk about the other side. Children who are abused and are not removed. Children are neglected and not removed. That would just be too much work for CPS. Again, we're back to the baby. Imagine you are an infant or a young toddler. You're wet, you're cold, you're hot, you're hungry, your ear hurts, right here hurts, other areas may hurt. You have wrong. You have no idea why no one is coming when you cry. You have no idea. And chances are, because you are so young and you have no way to defend yourself, chances are you will not make it. It may not ever even be found out that you did not make it, or it may be found out months or even years down the road that something happened to you. And in a lot of these cases, somebody rang the alarm bell for you to be saved, and nobody came, or they did come, and they claimed there was nothing wrong. Now imagine you are a toddler. There is nobody home, or there is, and they hit you, or they don't feed you, or they feed you things sick, or they hurt you in multiple physical ways. You cry, you scream, you try to fight back. You might try to run if you can get outside. But again, you're too young to defend yourself. Chances are you also, like the infant, will not make it. Whether the alarm bell is sounded or not, when the alarm bell is sounded, they do not help. Now, a young elementary schooler, you may come to school extremely hungry, tired, angry, and I don't mean 1 or 2 days, I mean consistently, extremely dirty, saying or that happened, talking about strange occurrences or things that someone your age should not talk about. You may or may not have constant injuries. You may or may not be covered in bruises or broken bones. Chances are, a teacher may sound the alarm bell. That's if you get to go to school. But again, many times it is put off or covered up. And again, you may or may not survive, or you may or may not become a behavioral hazard at school. And again, nobody comes, nobody cares. Now imagine you're an older elementary schooler. You and your friends talk more, conversation depth, people have more understanding. You may get picked on it. You may be someone who's to ask the teacher for a hairbrush or for a change of socks. Some of these things can happen in poverty. Some of these things, poverty is a different deal. So we are not talking about poverty here, for just a clarification. You may tell a teacher, a trusted friend, you may or may not sound the alarm bell. You may have already told before in the past or seen a sibling tell. And you may have remembered what happened after they came and left and didn't save you. And you do not want that to happen again or to happen to your younger siblings. As an older elementary schooler, you are likely the buffer between the adults and anyone younger than you. Now imagine you are a middle schooler. You have some more identity of yourself and everything. You hear of the horror stories of things that happen to children in care. And you go, well, it's really bad at home, but at least I know my mom, my dad, my parent, my grandma, my uncle, my aunt, whomever is there. And I know what they're capable of. I have a decent idea. So I would rather stay here because at least it's a known instead of an unknown. And if I call and they don't save us, it would be even worse. Or alternatively, you do call and nothing is done. You, in that older elementary schooler, you can also become a statistic of an abused, neglected child who did not live. But you do have some ability to defend yourself. You may or may not make it, with or without lasting injury. You're a teenager now. Chances are you're withdrawn, or you have multiple mental issues, or you have turned into an abuser yourself. Because of nobody is coming. You may just recluse into yourself. You may run off. You may try to stay gone to friends' houses as much as possible. Some children of this older age group will even stand up to the abuser and put themselves online for anyone younger who may be in the home. All of these children in this hand group needed help, not necessarily removal. Some of these parents just needed therapy, resources, addiction issues, whatever. But they didn't get them because it was covered up or because it was ignored. That second group, those are the children that needed help of the community. And where was abused and stripped from their family and abused after the fact. All of this to say, look at the perspective of many, many, many children in this country and in other countries. Why does CPS, who is supposed to help children in that second category, often not help them, or anything makes it worse, or removes them from a abuse is abuse of any sort, first of all, but a lower risk situation and place them in a higher risk situation, which often leads to these children having major lasting issues aside from the trauma of being removed. It leads to drug addiction, severe mental health issues, them unaliving themselves, criminal activity, things of that nature, when the family just needed help. Let's go on to the perspective of the parent. Imagine that you are a parent and you have a child or children, and you are doing your best to take care of them. Perhaps your car breaks down, you lose a job, your family has medical issues, any of those things. You get behind on things, or even just you don't get behind on things and someone decides that they don't like you. They call CPS. You're not concerned because CPS takes children that need help. Children don't need help. Instead of CPS noticing that it is false claims from someone trying to start trouble for your family, or instead of CPS helping you with the jobs program or something of the sort, resources, they remove your children. They may or may not place them together. They may or may not follow policies on things that they require. They may or may not set up visits. They may even charge you for having the children and for the visits when you did nothing. Just because they wanted to, or because somebody said something about you, you're confused, you're sad, you're angry. And then when you express these things, people go, look at their behavior. Look what they're doing. Look what they said. Look, they've cursed someone out. They've acted a donkey. Well, you took their child for no reason. And you're claiming who knows what about them. Some of these parents have even been falsely arrested. Some parents who are unalive because of this situation, whether CPS and other agencies did the unaliving or whether the parent themselves got past the point and did it to themselves. All because CPS wanted to pick up their children. Because guess what? Children that are taken care of are easier to place somewhere and people to want to keep. Just like a well-behaved, sheltered pup will get adopted before one that has a little bit of a history. These children are often infants, toddlers, younger than third grade age. Any older siblings, they may even be left in the home or they get dropped off to group homes. You as a parent are spinning in circles trying to figure out what to do. You either refuse any of their stuff because it's all lies. So you tell CPS, I'm not doing any of that. I have no reason to. The judge will give me my children back. Oftentimes they don't. Or your supervisor will do it. There has to be a misunderstanding. Or alternatively, you do everything on that plan they tell you to do. Once in a blue moon, you might get your children back out of that. But chances are you won't. And you'll continue to fight and continue to fight while people continue to make new lies about you. And as the time drags on, your children are kept away from you more and more and more. They start talking about things like TPR, which is termination of parental rights, parent, their other parent may also be a sound parent, whether you are together or not. You have family, you have friends. It's all been denied, children being put in any of these places. Good reason, other than we said so. And then oftentimes when you stand up and say, no, that's not right, that breaks this constitutional amendment, that breaks this state law, etc., you're labeled a problem, a nuisance, a disturb. Which is ridiculous. Because I thought it was for what was the best interest of the child. It is never in the best interest of a child to be placed with a stranger. Now, let's switch to the parent who may be doing something wrong, regardless of how serious or the purpose, as in whether they're doing it accidentally or doing the neglecting and abusing. You do what you want. You don't care. You may or may not. You order to buy food at your house. You run around. You may not pay your bills. You may be doing substances. You may be physically harming the children. It doesn't matter. Because CPS has already come 3, 4, 5, 9, 52 times. They haven't took your kids yet. Because right before they get here, you will clean up your house. You will put the food up. You will do anything you need to do. Or you will pay these people off. Or you will coerce or threaten the children for saying things or not saying things. And if they come, they look. You may do one thing or things that they won't. They pat you on the back. They close the case. Or they might pick up your kids and take them to grandma's house. And then you just move into grandma's house. And they let you. All is fine, all is well. You're still pretty free access to your children. While you continue to do the things you shouldn't be doing. And it doesn't matter. Because they won't do nothing. They're too busy bothering somebody down the street for no reason. I could say a lot more on these type of people, but I won't. You know who you are if you're this person. Then there's caseworkers. Many times they claim to be things they aren't, such as social workers and things of that nature. Many will falsely write reports, lie, not answer the phone, not answer emails, not answer your questions about your children, poke at you, prod at you, and then when you yell at them and curse at them, go, oh my God, they scared me, even though you chose this job. And you didn't do your job, which is why that parent is acting that way. From what I and many others I've spoken to have seen, you often know little to nothing about child development. You often know little to nothing about car seats and car seat safety for the younger children. And you just run around and do what you want because you're getting paid per child. And the more children you can adopt out, the more money you make. Now, on the flip side, you might be a good caseworker, but you have to be careful. You will be framed for things. You will be fired for being insubordinate when you don't remove children that you know they are doing wrong. They want you to do wrong. You probably quit or you get fired, or in some cases, you even get framed for charges because you stood up for the children and the parents. And lastly, the foster parents. You see advertisements, help these children that are so abused and neglected, that these children that nobody wants. You jump through all the hoops. You get children in your home. You talk to the children. You may even parents, and you find out what is really going on. Many of these children are in care, while simultaneously finding out the children that do need your help are not in care. Joel, what are you talking about? Joel, while you do that, I'm going to finish explaining. You're a foster parent. You think you're helping these children until you find out what's going on. You find out how hard it is to get medical children. You find out that DHR will often deny things the children needs. And all of that. You're back to their families to help these families. You get in trouble for standing up for these families. You get in advocating for these children. You're either denied continuing to help, or you decide to step back because you will not be a part of tearing families apart. On the other side, you are a foster parent who may or may not know what is going on. And you're just doing what you think you're doing at face value. But you truly know nothing. And on the third side, because this one has a third side, you are a foster parent. You're either flat out abusive and neglectful, or you are abusive and neglectful in ways that are harder to prove. Oftentimes, these children are just a number or a check to you, or a, oh my God, look at me, I'm helping the community. You're the one who is often on Facebook asking for free things, asking for help, letting whoever watch the foster children. You often have many children from many different cases all in your house. There's no way you can spend quality time with these children. There is no way you can keep up with all of their medical things. Development gets behind for these children. It's fine. CPS doesn't care. You're just worried about keeping these children so you can keep that check. And many times, these are the homes that are wanting to left, right, center adopt children. Because guess what? Even after adoption, you get a check. They often have sibling pods, sibling groups, because you get more money from those as well. They will not take these children to different therapies and services and things of that nature and claim there's nothing wrong with them. And then they will flip around, medicate these children, because children on medication are more money to them. Sometimes these fosters will even go as far to attack the actual parents because they know that they are in the wrong and that those children belong home. But if they admitted they would lose their money, or the children would tell on them for what has happened. And these are the most dangerous kind, because what will happen to these children? I know there's a lot of moving parts and perspectives and perceptions. But the bottom line is, there's no reason it should be this way. And why is it money? Why are there children, whether it be with their biological families or with foster families, being abused and neglected? Those are the children. And if they are being abused and neglected, go to family members first. And then close family friends, and the neighbors and people in the same community to keep as much the same for the child as possible. There's a very, very small line of children that stranger outside care. And instead, there are children that are being abused in their home and not helped, and other children that were fine at home being snatched and abused in strangers' homes. And then a section of children who were abused in both. And CPS doesn't seem to be helping anybody. And you can have down to paper evidence, text, emails, phone calls, recordings, video of abuse and neglect. People admitting abuse and neglect and other dangerous things. CPS doesn't care. I'm in Alabama, for those that don't know. There's videos floating around in Alabama right now of people abusing several young children and telling them things such as, I'm going to pluck your eyes out and bury you. And CPS in Alabama, from what I've read, I'm going to look more into it, are claiming, well, that's not abuse. CPS in Alabama also doesn't think not taking children to their services when you're a foster parent, they think that's not abuse. Oh, sorry, I had to read that. Does anyone have anything to add? Joel, I know you'd commented, but I'm not sure what I will somewhat say something about this. You mentioned charged and whether somebody was guilty and whether it's a legitimate charge. Oftentimes when children are removed, there are not any criminal charges pressed because nothing happened. But then there are other situations when something happens to a child and they don't press charges. My whole point is, yes, clearly everybody's perception and perception. Before you look at that person and say, that parent over there is acting crazy, they don't have their kids, why are they acting like that? Or that kid that's in foster care, they should be grateful. Why? Why is that foster care acting like that? What should they be grateful for? Great that they're being traumatized? That parent that's acting out? Why are they acting out? What has been done to them? And to those that don't know, oftentimes when parents reach out, they're threatened by attorneys. They're threatened by judges. They're threatened by CPS. They're threatened with gag orders saying, you can't talk about this. Oh, fine. If CPS and the courts aren't doing anything wrong, and I am, why can't I talk about it? What it is, in my opinion, in my belief, if people start seeing that this is a continuous thing that happens to people, the community would know what's actually going on. And that it could happen to anyone on any random day of the week. They literally snatched my children on a Tuesday after dark in the rain in a county we didn't even live in. But, oh, be quiet, be quiet. You can't talk about that. That's confidential. I'm the parent. I can say as much information about my family that I choose to the public. That is my right. What they mean, in my opinion, by, well, that's confidential, don't talk about it, is, well, we don't want them to know that we didn't follow policy, that we didn't follow law, that we illegally took your children. But when you start posting things, some people are hit with lawsuits. Some people are threatened. People come hopping in your inboxes or on your comments saying crazy stuff to you. Well, I heard this or blah, 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 that. A lot of that's defamation. So that's what it is. Danielle, we're going to talk about what you just said. Danielle's son just came home from one of those facilities I was talking about. And for everyone who doesn't know, Danielle's son is 18 or 19. Correct me if I'm wrong, Danielle. And he has some developmental delays. He was sent states away facility where he's just been absolutely traumatized. She's shown me a video calls with her son where you can tell that he's afraid, concerned, stressed, and there's crazy stuff going on in and out of the picture. Why are children being locked up like zoo animals? Okay, Danielle, her son is 19. What is the deal? Many times these facilities and group homes and things, or wilderness camps, they're all found to be negligent, abusive, but it takes thousands and thousands of reports and often several people's deaths before anything is done, unless somebody, again, has money. It's ridiculous, and it needs to be stopped right now. There needs to be a halt on all things to do with CPS and family court, because there's a lot of abuse going on with family court that does and doesn't tie into CPS depending on where. In every case that has been touched, that there is still a juvenile involved in that case needs to be immediately opened back up and re-looked at on a constitutional and legal level. Exactly, Daniel. They're detained and isolated, whether it be in these facilities or whether it be in these foster homes, because they all hang out with each other or with people who will envelope those children into just that area. Because if you don't have an outside talk to and something is concerning, you can't tell when, everybody around knows what's going on. And then it continues. And that's why they want it to be hush hush. They don't want anyone to know what's going on. So it all needs to be halted. We have computers now. Set a search where any case involving children that are still under 19 years old, those cases get pulled and immediately recalled, and everything immediately re-looked over for court for these children to be placed back where. And another thing that is causing issues, when someone adopts a child, they change their birth certificate. That is a falsified document at that point. Daniel, I'm glad you recorded those too. Those are very handy. But it's sick that they had to happen. But these birth certificates, they're falsified because that's incorrect. You can't claim that you're someone's biological parent when you're not. Oh, no. That locks these children's identity. It changes their identity. It makes it hard for them to get their records or any other records. And it's also harder to track where these children end up or what their outcome is, and whether they even live if you're changing their names and floating them around wherever. And many times, I've seen, especially in these cases where people have multiple upon multiple adoptive and foster children, they will get several children and then they will move to another area. So these older children don't know the new area, and it doesn't show that they're adding and adding and adding and adding. Why? Other than money and weirdo reasons, why? I think that's about all for today. But just a side note, if you are going through it, you're welcome to message me or Danielle or anybody else on this channel. Kim, the guys. Sorry, I'm in the kids' room. This is squished. It's been sitting in a box funny for a while because my children don't get to play with their toys because they are being held against our family and their will by Mobile County in Alabama. If you're going through it, you can message any of us. You're not alone. None of us have all the answers or the solutions, nor do we know all the laws. However, the Constitution's kind of blatantly open there. There's a lot of things going on. There is a bill, let me see what it's called, in Alabama that they're trying to get passed that would make it more where Alabama CPS had to do more. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I need to read it, but I was reading about it earlier. It's called HB 340. The DHR, because CPS is called DHR in Alabama, the DHR Transparency and Due Process Rights Notification Act. This needs to be passed. And this is a statistic that was posted by Terry LaPointe. She said that in Alabama, less than 19% of children are taken for reasons of any kind of abuse. Less than 19%. That leaves 81% more of children. So what were these 81% taken for? About 83% of all allegations against parents are unsubstantiated, aka unfounded or false. She also stated that children are at least 6 times more likely to be abused, R-worded, M-worded, and 10 times more likely to be unalived in a foster situation than they would be left in their own home. There was a reporter that spoke with them. However, I don't know who. But this needs to be passed in Alabama. There was a bill in Oklahoma that they are working on passing as well, making it a felony for CPS workers to remove children without evidence. Let's talk about that for a second, and then Danielle, I'll get back to you. If you're claiming something did happen or that something wasn't done that should have been, wouldn't you have evidence? Why are you walking in to, more often than not, why is CPS walking into people's homes, often without a court order, and taking people's children? From my personal understanding, that sounds like the definition of kidnapping. So what gives? So let's see what Danielle's saying. Yes, the things that they fabricate are ridiculous. Well, I think that's about it today because we're right at time anyway. Thank you, Debbie. That was his name. Gabe Woolley in Oklahoma is the one trying to pass it to where it would be a felony if they picked up children without evidence. There is a, hold on, is that House or Senate? I'm not sure if he's part of the Senate or the House in Alabama, but Representative Kenneth Pascal is the one that is one of the ones helping with HB 340 in Alabama. At the bottom it says, there was a lot of argument on whether this is good or not. Like, the people that went up there, some people were arguing that this wasn't good for Alabama's children, for the parents to know their rights. Okay. But next week is spring break in the legislature in Alabama area. So or is legislation on spring break? I know some of the schools are on spring break. Anyway, there's a lot of spring break stuff in Alabama next week. Basically, we need to get out to the community in Alabama how this is a good bill, how it needs to be passed. We need to contact the legislation, all of those things. So parents are educated on their due process, so parents know their rights. The reason why they don't want this passed is because then they will be required to do these things. And one, from my personal observation, CPS in Alabama or DHR, they don't like to work. They're often more, from what I've seen, often not even in office or not doing anything. So there's all of that. And they also know that if parents start learning their rights, it will be harder for them to take children. And that there are many, many, many children they would have to return. And I personally believe that's what they're scared of the children. I believe they are scared of the children that have aged out in the last 10 years and are continuing to age out. And I believe they're scared of the parents of the younger children because they know that too many people know what's going on. And that's why they're trying to hush it. Or alternatively, if they can't make someone be quiet, they're threatening them. Or they're lying to people about them. They claim to care about the children, but I don't believe they care about anything about other than lining their pockets. And some of them, I believe, are absolutely sick and just want to abuse children and think it's funny. So that's all today, guys. I will see you guys Tuesday. Thank you.
Our courts are contaminated with young, inexperienced caseworkers and polluted with bribes, high-priced bonuses for speedy adoption of terminated parents, and judges who don't practice law with the Constitution in their sights. This is a problem.
They take away the fathers, leaving just a mom and cubs. They know that with that out the way, the better things will go. Breaking apart the family, destroying the American way. Our legacy is built upon our families of yesterday. Fuck CPS, fuck what they doing. Fuck CPS, they need to be ruined. It's all about the division of family services. You hear that the division, that's what they about. They prey upon the family, the ones that the dad's been kicked out. We can't stand for this abomination. This is the song that needs to play across our once great nation. Making us aware of the problem, stealing our kids, it's not mama drama. Stand up for those who are lost due to them. We need to fight for the family, making America great again. CPS comes along with the mission to protect The only thing they are doing is cashing in those checks paid for by the souls of the children. Diagnosed by a caseworker who is still a baby herself. They take away the fathers, leaving just a mom and cubs. They know that with dad out the way, the better things will go. Breaking apart the family, destroying the American way. Our legacy is built upon our families of yesterday. Fuck CPS, fuck CPS, fuck what they doing. Fuck CPS, they need to be ruined. It's all about the division of family services. You hear that the division, that's what they about. They prey upon the family, the ones that the dad's been kicked out. We can't stand for this abomination. This is the song that needs to play across our once great nation, making us aware of the problem, stealing our kids. It's not mama drama. Stand up for those who are lost to them. We need to fight for the family, making America great again.